A group of rural municipalities here in Alberta is doing more to study the economic impact of Justin Trudeau's bad climate policies than the Liberals have ever done. Regular viewers of Rebel News will know that I like to watch the government procurement websites, both federally, but also provincially and even municipally. And we came across this the other day. It's from the Alberta Purchasing Connection. The RMA, or Rural Municipalities of Alberta, is looking for a contractor to analyze just how much Justin Trudeau's carbon tax will hurt rural Albertans. Look at this. The purpose of this project is to undertake research and analysis to quantify the net impact of the carbon tax on rural Alberta households. This analysis should also explore comparisons between average or typical rural and urban households in Alberta and may benefit from interjurisdictional comparisons. Additionally, RMA is interested in understanding the direct impact that carbon pricing has on its member municipalities, particularly related to operating costs linked to delivering municipal services and maintaining infrastructure. A comparative analysis may be useful in understanding this impact. The outcome of this research should propose solutions, if there is a disparity, that can lessen the impact of carbon pricing on rural Albertans and municipalities. This will be used to inform RMA's position in future advocacy. Now, this little study being done by this small organization of small Alberta towns, villages, and counties is far more of a comprehensive study than anything Justin Trudeau has ever done to support his government's incessant claims that the economy and the environment just go hand in hand and that people will be getting more back than they paid into the carbon tax, which is definitely Ponzi scheme marketing.
The Government of Canada will return all of the money collected through pricing pollution back to Canadians.
I can tell you this in full confidence because of something else we found a little while ago on the Open Canada website under the proactively released access to information filings. What that means is after a certain amount of time has elapsed, the government then releases all previously filed access to information filings for the world to see and not just the filer. Now, this is what we found. Someone, we don't know who, had asked the Department of Finance for all records relating to Canadian GDP, employment, productivity, and any potential impacts due to Canada's environmental commitments since 2019. The filer asked for this in 2022. And as you can see, no such records exist. The Finance Ministry has not done a single page of study on the economic impacts of any of the government's climate policies, let alone the carbon tax. And I'm sure there's a reason for that. And I think it's obvious to everybody watching. I can also show you another instance of no records. The federal government, through Natural Resources Canada, also did no analysis of the economic impact of Bill C-69. That's the anti-pipeline law. And if we need yet another piece of evidence, there's this response to an order paper question asked by Pat Kelly, a Conservative MP last year. He asked the federal government for their analysis of how doubling the carbon tax would affect the ability of oil and gas producers in this country to do their jobs and I guess ultimately provide jobs to people and tax revenue to the government. If we skip ahead to page 6 of the response, we can see that the federal government doesn't know and they don't care. The federal government does not have an estimate of the magnitude of these impacts as there is no single rule of thumb for the impact of oil price declines on the economy or government revenues. In particular, it is difficult to disentangle the impact of the differential from other factors affecting profitability. You see, if the Fed studied the economic impact of their climate policies, they would know then about the negative outcomes for businesses, for farmers, for families, for towns, and for cities. So I guess if you don't study it, there's no evidence on paper that it's bad, except, the obvious and true anecdotal evidence we can see all around us every day. The family struggling to pay their utility bills and put gas in the minivan. The farmer dealing with fertilizer prices and natural gas costs for grain dryers. The businesses forced to close or raise prices on their customers because the carbon tax is being added all the way down the supply chain. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. One of the records I showed you in this story today was made possible through access to information filings by us here at Rebel News. These access to information filings are time consuming. Sometimes they are expensive and sometimes they also involve extensive and lengthy appeals processes. But we think it's so important to tell the Canadian public what is happening behind closed doors in the government when they think nobody is watching. If you agree with me, please consider making a donation to support this important work at a special website, rebelinvestigates.com. And thanks in advance to everyone who donates to make this important work possible.